Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Doya Koro More Tuma Vina Ke Doyalu Jagata Prabhu Doya Koro More Tuma Vina Ke Doyalu Jagata Samsare Patita Pavanna itu Kavavatara Mosama Patita Prabhu Napai Beyara Patita Pavanna itu Sitapati Advaita Gosai Tava Kripa Boleh Pai Caitanya Nita Sanatana Uparagunata Bhaktayuga Sri Jiva Prabhu Lokanata Daya Koro Sri Acharya Prabhu Srinivasa Ramachandra Sangamage Narottama Dasa Krishna, Caitanya, Prabhu, Daya karo more, Toma vina ke doyalo, Jagata samsare. Caitanya Prabhu, Daya karo more. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Follow. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki jai. So this song of Narottam Das Thakur is a cry for mercy. First of all, he says, "O Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, you are an ocean of mercy. You have appeared to give mercy. Who else in these three worlds will be so merciful as you? So please, Doya Koro More, I want that mercy." This Krishna consciousness process is based on two principles. One is our own endeavor, our own try, and the second one is what we lack, and that's quite a lot in Kali Yuga. qualifications. What we lack, we ask for mercy. So Narottam Das Thakur is praying for mercy to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But the question could be raised that why would the Lord be merciful? Why would he give me the mercy? Narottam Das Thakur is very clever. He says, Patita pavana hetu tava avatar. You have descended to show mercy to the most fallen. So most sama patita Prabhu, not by vihar. If you investigate everyone in the universe, you will not find anyone more fallen than me. And then he's thinking, wait a minute, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I'm not sure if he heard my prayers, so let me address Nityananda Prabhu. Haha Prabhu Nityananda, Premananda Sukhi. My dear Lord Nityananda, you seem quite happy. Nita Ananda Sukhi, your Premananda Sukhi, you seem to be very blissful, very joyous in your Krishna consciousness. But look at me, Kripa Bolokana Koro, please give me mercy because I'm very dukhi. So he says, you're Sukhi, I'm dukhi. It's not fair, I also want some Sukhi. And you have a lot, because you're Nita Ananda, Prema Ananda. You are drowning in an ocean of love and ecstasy. So give me something. Then he's thinking, well, praying to Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, maybe it's not etiquette to immediately address Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda. So therefore he says, Doya Koro Sita Pati Advaita Gosai. He is addressing the husband of Sita Thakurani, who is Advaita Gosai. So I'm addressing Advaita Gosai. I want your mercy, Tava Kripa. Again this word Kripa. I want your mercy, because if you give me mercy, then Gonitai will give me mercy. Why is that? Because of Advaita Acharya's crying out of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda appeared in this Kali Yuga. So he was thinking, if I get the mercy of Advaita Acharya, then Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda will listen to him, and then through Advaita Acharya I will get the mercy. That's how it goes in spiritual life, to get the mercy from the person who got the mercy from the person who got the mercy. And that's how we get the mercy, somehow or other. But then he's thinking, yeah, Advaita Acharya is Mahavishnu, directly going to Mahavishnu, maybe go one step closer to the line. So he's praying to the six Goswamis and to Swarup Damodar Goswami, because Swarup Damodar Goswami was very, very close to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Whoever tried to surrender to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and offer him something, it always had to go through Swarup Damodar Goswami. So therefore we pray to Swarup Damodar Goswami, you're so close to the Lord, and whatever I do needs to be sanctioned by you, needs to be verified by you, and then you offer it to the Lord. And praying to the six Goswamis. And praying to Lokanath Goswami. Prabhu Lokanath. Why Lokanath Goswami? Because this is Guru. Prabhu Lokanath. And it's quite amazing, the mood of Narottam Das Thakur. Because he received directly from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu praying. Whatever praying Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had when he was about to disappear, the devotees asked him, will you take all that praying with you when you leave this world? So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I will dump all my praying in the river Padma, and then there will be a boy, Narottama. He will take birth later on. When he takes bath in that river, the Padma river will give all the praying to him. So that's what happened when Narottam Das Thakur bathed in the Padma river. Suddenly, he was like a blackish boy, he became golden. And he changed completely. He became an ecstatic lover of God. So much so that his family, his parents became so worried they want to send him to the psychiatrist because he was getting pagal. So that Narottam, who was directly invested with Krishna Prem, That Narottam is praying like this: Oh Lord Chaitanya, oh Lord Nityananda, give me mercy. Oh Lord Advaita Acharya, please give me mercy. Oh Six Goswamis, give me mercy. Doya Koro Sri Acharya, Prabhu Srinivas, Ramachandra Sangame Mage Narottama Das. After the Six Goswamis, he's going to his direct associates. He's also praying to them. He's praying to Srinivas Acharya, the person he is always going on Sankirtan with. The three Sankirtan devotees, the first ones, Narottam Das Thakur, Srinivas and Shyamananda. So he's praying, Prabhu Srinivas, Ramchandra Sangamage, O Ramchandra, his good friend, I long for your association. So not only top, it's very easy to pray to the Lord, to pray to Prabhupada, but how much are we praying for and appreciating the association of our friends, our peers, our devotees which are here now living with us, together with us. We should not take that for granted either and pray to them. Devotees are so important for each other that we can see in this song. When I come early morning, sometimes, not always, I'm sorry, but sometimes I come regularly, I come in early morning. And the first thing I see when I enter is the bike of Kunjavasini. It's like the bike is preaching to me. I sometimes have the feeling to pay my obeisance to the bike. Because the bike is carrying Kunjavasini Mataji every day to the morning program, so early. So even the bike is preaching another this, be steady, be steady, be steady. So it's a wonderful verse, wonderful song of Narottam Das Thakur. And in our case, maybe it's 10% or 20% endeavor, due to our weakness of mind. Maybe it's 80% mercy, but then we have to really ask for it. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. You see again the Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. In every song, even with two Maha Mantras, the Hare Krsna Maha Mantra and the Panchatattva Maha Mantra. Jai Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. It's very important that we not only pray to those who are very far away or are not anymore present with us, but we pray also to the Gaura Bhakta Vrindas, to the devotees who are around us and inspiring us on a day-to-day basis. So today we read text 25. The chapter is called The Passing of Haridas Thakur. It's in the Anchalila, chapter 11, text 25. Lokanishtarite tomar avatar. Lokanishtarite tomar avatar. Namira mahima loke karila prachar. Namira mahima loke karila prachar. Lokanishtarite tomar avatar. Namira mahime loke karila prachar.
Lokanishtarite tomar avatar. Namira mahima loke karila prachar.
Namira mahima loke karila prachar.
Lokanishtarite tomar avatar.
Lokanishtarite tomar avatar.
Namira mahima loke karila prachar.
Namira mahima loke karila prachar.
Lokanishtarite tomar avatar.
Lokanishtarite tomar Namira Mahime Loka Karila Pracha. Lokanisarite Tomara Avatar. Namira Mahima Loke Karila Pracha. Lokanisarite Tomara Avatar. Namira Mahima Loke Karila Pracha. Lokanisarite Tomara Avatar. Namira Mahima Loke Karila Pracha. There are a lot of familiar words in this verse. I think if you meditate on it, most of the words you can already recognize. So, Lokanistarite. Loka means people, or people on the planets. People. And Nishta?
Study.
Yeah, you think the word Nishta, but actually Nishtare comes from, there is one verse also in Caitanya Caritamrta, Jivara Nishtar Lagi Sutre Kole Vyas. Jivara Nishtara Lagi Sutre Kole Vyas. For the liberation of all living entities, Srila Vyasadeva compiled the Vedanta Sutra, the Sutra. So Loka Nishtarite means to deliver the people in general. This. Tomar Avatar. What does it mean? Tomar means Toma Vina. Your. And Avatar, incarnation. So Tomar Avatar means your incarnation. Namira Mahima. The glories of the holy name. Very good. Loke. In this world. Karila Prachar. But the word Karila you find many times in Bengali. Karila just means you do something. There is an activity that you do. So what do? Prachar. You're preaching. So Karila Prachar. You have preached. Just like Guru More Murka Tumi Tomara Kariyas Seshan. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu says, my spiritual master was very merciful to me, and therefore Karila Seshan. He did something. What did he? Seshan. He chastised me. So again, this Karila you find a lot of times. This word Karila is doing something. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Your role in this incarnation is to deliver the people in general. You have sufficiently preached the glories of the holy name in this world. Purport. Haridas Thakur is known as Nama Acharya because it is he who preached the glories of chanting Harinam, the holy name of God. By using the words Tomar Avatar, your incarnation, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu confirms that Haridas Thakur is the incarnation of Lord Brahma. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that advanced devotees help the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his mission, and that such devotees are personal associates, incarnate by the will of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord incarnates by his own will, and by his will, competent devotees also incarnate to help him in his mission. Haridas Thakur is thus the incarnation of Lord Brahma, and other devotees are likewise incarnations who help in the prosecution of the Lord's mission. Lokanishtarite Tomaravata Namira Mahima Loke Karila Prachar. Your role in this incarnation is to deliver the people in general. You have sufficiently preached the glories of the holy name in this world. In his previous life, or actually in his role as Lord Brahma, when he realized that he made this mistake by stealing the calves and the cowherd boys, then he offered 40 prayers. He surrendered to the Lord and he offered 40 prayers, 2 chapters before this, or 1 chapter before, prayers of Lord Brahma. And he said a lot of deep philosophical and devotional things he mentioned to the Lord. For example, he said that you are already liberated when you know the art of tolerating whatever comes on your path as bad karma, and at the same time, with your heart, with your words, with your body, you offer your respectful obeisance to the Lord. If you do that, then liberation is already yours. Which is a very nice point that he made there. He even goes further by saying that you can even conquer the Lord, which is quite new when you think about religion. You think about being conquered by the Lord or surrendering to the Lord. But Lord Brahma says that a person who gives up all tendencies for mental speculation, all so-called knowledge, when he gives that up, that's the first aspect, which is quite something for Brahma to say, by the way, because as our bodies are composed of very gross elements like earth, water, fire, air, ether, the body of Lord Brahma is almost entirely consisting of intelligence. His body is much more subtle than us, so the main ingredient of his body is intelligence, his buddhi. So when he offers prayers, you might expect some intelligence in those prayers. So the 40 prayers that he composed are wonderful. And this one, in that specific prayer, says, Gyane Prayasam. First of all, give up all this knowledge, because I had all that knowledge, and still I tried to conquer the Lord instead of surrendering to the Lord. So he did a lot of talking. He said it's better that you just hear and chant about Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes in a very humble state of mind. And that combination will conquer the Lord. But did Lord Brahma conquer the Lord? Not really. Because what happened after 40 of such prayers, the Lord remained
Indifferent.
silent. Can you imagine that you offer someone 40 prayers and the person is just remaining silent? Not any interaction. It's just the boy, Krishna, was there, just listening. And there are many explanations why he's silent. One of them was that he was thinking, I'm just a coward boy. What is this strange man doing here? Offering all these kind of difficult prayers. I don't understand a thing. When can I play again? That's one explanation. But another explanation is that he thinks, talking. It's very easy to talk. And that's a very important point which we like to discuss today, is that it's not just the talking. Anybody can talk, anyone can say anything what he has memorized. That's just talking. But Haridas Thakur, when he appeared, he walked the talk of Lord Brahma. He walked the talk of Lord Brahma, literally. And as Lord Brahma tried to conquer the Lord and was not successful and became conquered by the Lord, Haridas Thakur conquered the Lord several times. And that's why he's called Nam Acharya. If you want to be recognized as Nam Acharya, you have to do something. And it's not talking, not just talking. Although the word is here, prachar, he did a lot of preaching. But the main aspect of his preaching was that he walked his talk. That he became the embodiment of Krishna consciousnness. So there are 3 aspects why Haridas Thakur is given the title of Namacharya. One of them is, of course, his deep attachment to the process of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So if we want to follow in the footsteps of Haridas Thakur, our first mission, before talking about Krishna praying, which is the ultimate goal of life, is to at least get taste for the process of hearing and chanting. And there are so many examples of devotees who developed this taste for the basic principle of chanting the holy names of the Lord. And there are so many slokas. Very famous sloka is that if you, by your daily activities, you do not develop attachment and taste for the process of hearing and chanting, then your life is simply a waste of time. Shrama eva hi kevalam. So it's very easy to test ourselves in our Krishna consciousness if we are making progress. It's very easy. You don't have to ask anyone, am I making progress? You just observe yourself, what you're doing when you have free time. Everybody of us is very busy, but if you have 1 or 2 hours free time, then what will you do? You will take the Bhagavad Gita, or you will take, a movie, or you take your beats. What are you doing with your free time when you have free time? So if you naturally are attracted to do some extra hearing and chanting, then you know that some taste is coming. So first duty, Jai Shri Shri Radha Gopinath ki, Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki, Shri Shri Gaura ki. So there are 2 ways to develop that taste, a combination of the 2. First of all, it said Sadhu Sangha Namaruchi. Sadhu Sangha Namaruchi. Or in the Bhagavatam, we mentioned yesterday, Sushrusho Saradanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Sham Mahat Sevya Vipra Punya Tirtani Sevanat. If you want to develop taste for hearing and chanting, then what should we do? You have to associate with the devotees and become a servant of a Mahatma. Sham Mahat Sevya Vipra. If we have a service attitude and we please advanced devotees, then we will develop taste. And the second way of developing taste, anyone? What comes before taste? What is the stage before ruchi?
Steadiness.
Steadiness, is to become nishta. So steadiness is very, very important. One of the 4 instructions that Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj gave to those who visited him, one of the 4 was that never ever give up your sadhana. Even if it's life-threatening, you need to continue your sadhana. And of course, our example, Haridas Thakur, he is the topmost example of that, because as being a born Muslim, he was dragged before the minister and the Muslim ruler. And the Muslim ruler, he literally said that you either give up this chanting of the Hindu names, or you will die by being beaten to death. And Haridas Thakur, he remained very peaceful. And he said, even if you cut the body from my soul, I will continue chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So by doing that very steadily, we develop some taste for the process. Personally, I have realization in reading. When you read Srila Prabhupada's books irregularly, you don't get so much taste out of it. But if you do it consistently, then nectar will gradually appear. I remember the times that we were on Sankirtan, also with Krishna Prabhu, we did so much reading. Every morning, for hours reading, standing up with the Bhagavatam, the 1 volume Bhagavatam on our bed, double bed, and then you could stand up, otherwise you fall asleep. And then you read, and you read, and you read, and at one point it becomes really nectar. You don't want to miss the reading. So Nishta is the cause of Ruchi. And also association with the devotees is also the cause of Ruchi. Therefore it said Sadhu Sangha Nama Ruchi. And by doing that, we advance in Krishna consciousness and we come to another aspect of Haridas Thakur, and that is his wonderful qualities. Haridas Thakur is an ocean of wonderful qualities. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is mentioning 26 qualities of a Vaishnava. And the first quality of a Vaishnava that he mentioned is that he's kind to all living entities. I like that so much. Kindness is many times not highlighted as one of the major qualities of a Vaishnava. We usually speak about humility and tolerance and austerity, etc. But here, Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he says, the first one is being kind to all living entities, and the second one is to not make any enemies. He has no enemies. If you study Bhagavad Gita 12th chapter, you first have the process of devotional service, and then the last 8 verses of Bhagavad Gita is all talking about the good qualities of the devotees. In other words, devotional service should lead one to the development of good qualities automatically. So what is the first quality that Krishna mentions in the 13th verse of the 12th chapter? No, the first one is Adveshta Sarvabhutanam. So he says, don't be envious at anyone. Adveshta, Dvisha means to be malicious or envious. Adveshta Sarvabhutanam. Don't be envious of any living entity. Also not the mosquito during the night. He has the right to live there too. Although it's very difficult when you want to sleep and you think, I have to go to Mangalarti, and there's the first thing is that, who is he to bother me? That's like the essence of the feeling when we hear a mosquito, no? But Haridas Thakur, he was living with a venomous snake. And everyone was worried. Oh, we have to remove the snake. You are there in the cave chanting 24 hours a day, and there is this venomous smell here. There is a snake. Haridas Thakur said, so if there is a snake or no snake, no problem. He was not envious of the snake. The snake was living there before him. So who am I to chase away the snake? So that's the mentality of Haridas Thakur. He's not envious. So Adveshta Sarvabhutanam, Maitri Karuna Evacha. Maitri means?
Friends.
A friend. So first, don't be envious. The second, be a friend. It comes back all the time when we study scripture. Titikshava Karunika Surida Savadehinam. He says you have to be tolerant, you have to be merciful, but you also have to be a surit. Suridam Savabhutanam. You have to become the surit of all living entities. What means rit? Heart. Surit is like a friend in the heart. You have to be so friendly with others that it's like a hartsvriend, we say in Dutch. It's my hartsvriend. You don't say that in English, I think. Prabhu? Heartfelt friend. How do you say a very good friend? In Dutch we say it's my heart friend. It's a friend who is closest to my heart. Bosom. Yeah, but that's also not English, Bosom friend. Okay. But the point that I want to make is that, Kapila Muni to Devahuti is saying, Titikshava Komunika Suridam de Sarvadehinam. You have to become the heart friend of all embodied beings. So that's kindness. Parikshit Maharaj is also mentioning this Maitri, this friendliness. He's even praying for it. When he offended this Brahmana by putting the snake, and then he realized that he got cursed. And when all the Brahmanas assembled because they understood that he was going to listen to Srimad Bhagavatam, then first he offered a prayer, which also shows the good qualities of Maharaj Parikshit. He is praying to the Brahmanas. He says, Punas Chabuyat Bhagavati Anantes Ratis Prasangas Chayadasrayeshu Mahatsuyam Yam Upayami Sristim Maitri Ashtu Savatra Namodi Chevya. He's offering his prayers to the Dvijas, to the Brahmanas. And he asked for 3 blessings. First blessing was Punascha Bhuyat Bhagavati Anante Rati. Please, if I take birth again, next life, make me again attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhagavati Anante. Please give me that attachment for the Lord again. Rati prasangas chayat asrayeshu. Second blessing that he asked from the Brahmanas, give me this close association with the asrayeshu, those who are surrendered to the Lord, so the devotees. So give me attraction to the Lord, give me sangha, satsanga with the devotees. And the third one is maitri ashtu savatra. Give me friendly relationships with all living entities. Maitri ashtu savatra. Ashtu means let it be. Maitri ashtu savatra. Savatra means all. So give me friendly relationship with all. Doesn't mean that he leaves out anyone. He wants to have a harmonious way of dealing with all living entities, from the end to Lord Brahma. So wonderful qualities are there mentioned. Santushta, you mentioned Santushta, which means completely peaceful. Adveshta sarvabhutanam maitri karuna evacha nirmama nirahankara sama sukha dukam ksami. That's a difficult one. To be equally happy in happiness and distress. Sama dukkha sukham ksami. To be equal in happiness and distress. So in the 12th chapter there are so many qualities. And Srila Prabhupada is mentioning in the 19th verse in the purport, we may find some repetition in the description of the qualifications of a devotee. But this is just to emphasize the fact that a devotee must acquire all these qualifications. We may find some repetition in the descriptions of the qualifications of a devotee. But this is just to emphasize the fact that the devotee must acquire all these qualifications. Without good qualifications, one cannot be a pure devotee. So very important. So we spoke about developing taste, like Haridas Thakur. We're speaking about the qualities of Haridas Thakur. He was so friendly. When he was trying to be allured by the prostitute, he was very, very friendly to the prostitute. I wouldn't be so friendly. Either I would fall down if I would have that situation in the middle of the night, because it was Maya personified, or I would be harsh. Isn't it? If you think about it, if you're in the middle of the night chanting, and the most beautiful girl in the world will approach you and also say very kind, encouraging words to me, my ego would be immediately touched. So either we fall down, or we will say, oh no, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, somebody wants to bring me from the path of Krishna consciousness. You bitch, go! No? That's psychologically, that would be the two options I have, I think. But he didn't do that. He said, oh, yes, you indeed are also very attractive, very beautiful. And of course I will satisfy all your desires. But you have to wait, because I have a vow to complete my rounds. Of course, he didn't know how many rounds he was chanting. If I would say that, then okay, I'll come back in 2 hours. But for him, it was a different story. So he was very kind to the prostitute. And one qualification which is, for me at least, unreachable is a very important one, that is this karuna. Adveshta sarvabhutanam maitri karuna evacha. Remember, we have to develop all these good qualities to be recognized as a Vaishnava. So this karuna, compassion. I've been meditating on this word compassion since a couple of days. What is compassion? Do you feel compassion? When you see, people loitering in the streets, running here and there, and, do you feel real compassion? What is compassion? It's a difficult one. What is compassion? And I was thinking, by meditating on it, I came to two things. Two things you have to at least have before you can talk about compassion. First one, again, is taste. Taste for spiritual life. Because if you do not taste the nectar of spiritual life, then what is there to be compassionate about? You may be compassionate about yourself, that you don't have sense gratification anymore. But if you don't have taste for spiritual life, you cannot be compassionate, because without that tasting something special, you cannot have the realization that somebody is lacking something, which is essential in life as a soul. So the first one is to have this taste. And we see a very nice comparison with Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj is also, he also incarnated as Haridas Thakur. It's a combination of Lord Brahma and Prahlad Maharaj. But what did Prahlad Maharaj say about this subject matter? When he was asked by Lord Nrsingadev for that he got any blessings, he wanted to ask some blessings. Then he said, Naivot Vijay Paradurat Jaya Vaitaranyas. I don't have any problems. I don't need any blessings. I'm fine. Why you're fine? Because Tvatvirya Gayana Mahamrita Magna Chitta. Because my chitta, my consciousness, is absorbed in the nectar of your glories. So I have nothing to ask. I'm already absorbed in the blissful interactions with you. So there is nothing to ask anymore. So he's first speaking about this taste in his relationship with the Lord. But then he says, but whoa, wait a minute, so chetato vimukha chetasa indriyartam, maya sukhaya baram utvahato vimudam. Wait a minute, I have something to ask, because I feel so sorry for those who are maya sukhaya baram, those who are running behind the maya sukh, those who try to become happy and satisfied by satisfying the senses. This is bharam. This is a burden. So I feel sorry for them. So if you want to give me blessings, give them the blessings. They are suffering. So before you reach that taste, you will not come to that conclusion of, I feel so sorry for all those living entities. And the second aspect I was thinking about is that we have deep realizations about the suffering of materialistic life. That is one aspect of knowledge. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi, Dukkha, Dosha, Anudarshanam. To see the miseries of birth, death, old age and disease, to see the fault in it. Actually it's mentioned Dukkha, Dosha. This dosha means a mistake or a fault. That you see the flaw in those four. To see somebody taking birth. I've never seen a baby coming out of the womb laughing in ecstasy. It's usually, because of the love of the parents, you think it's the most beautiful baby in the world. But actually, if you objectively, neutrally look at the face of this child, it's suffering, like anything. And then when the child cries, then, oh, it's crying. So sweet. It's not sweet. It's suffering. And then growing old is suffering. Unless you have knowledge. Becoming diseased. If you suddenly realize you have COVID and you feel very sick and you feel yourself deteriorating, you're in panic, it's suffering. And then dying. If you die without knowing what comes next, it's also creating so much fear. So I think the combination of experiencing the positive spiritual life, to have this deep taste for the practice of Krishna consciousness, and on the other hand, to understand deeply the suffering of this material world, this combination will lead to feelings of compassion. And then, if we reach that stage, automatically we want to come to the stage of prachara, to preach. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine. So, therefore, our Sampradaya Acharya is Srila Prabhupada. The ISKCON Sampradaya Acharya is Srila Prabhupada. And he wanted to preach. Preach, preach, preach. And he said, those who have life, they can preach. So, this development of happiness in Krishna consciousness, to be touched by the nectar of Krishna consciousness, is so important. And I was thinking, if we never touch Srila Prabhupada's books, we can never become touched by his books. maybe a little reflection in our lives. How much do we touch Srila Prabhupada's books? So if we don't touch his books, don't expect to become touched by his books, by his message. So this preaching aspect is another aspect why Haridas Thakur is mentioned as the Namacharya. He had full taste, he had wonderful achar, his achar, his character, his attitude, his behavior was also spotless, perfect, and he had this prachar tendency. When they were in Navadvip, when all the devotees assembled in Navadvip to perform the Sankirtan Yajna with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Shiva's Angam, that was the tasting. You know, when they were all locked up in Shiva's Angam, they did a lot of Harinam Sankirtan together, and there was a lot of taste. Again, this relishing of Krishna consciousness. But then one day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu suddenly got a new idea in his head, in his mind. And he called Nityananda Prabhu, and he called Haridas Thakur. And he said, now I was thinking about something new. And he sent them out. He said, go, from now on, every day you go to every home, in every village in the area here of Navadvip, and you knock on the door, and you ask them 3 things. Bolo Krishna, Bhaja Krishna, Koro Krishna, Sikha. So he says, ask them to chant the holy name of Krishna. Ask them to worship Krishna. And ask them to follow the instructions of Krishna, as mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. And that's your preaching. So it's quite nice, the first 2 persons who did that. It was new, it was not done before. Was Nityananda Prabhu. Who is Nityananda Prabhu? Originally? Balaram. And who is Balaram? He is the original spiritual master. So he is the Chaitya Guru. He is the expansion of Balaram is the Paramatma, and the Paramatma is everyone's Chaitya Guru. So he is the Chaitya Guru being sent out together with Lord Brahma, who is our Adi Guru in our Sampradaya, the Brahma Matva Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. So the original Guru of our Sampradaya, together with the Chaitya Guru, they were sent out by the combination of Radha and Krishna to ask everyone to please chant the names of Krishna, worship Krishna, and follow Krishna's instructions. So they did it. They did that. They went door to door, and those who were pious, they wanted to invite them, these 2 effulgent personalities, to invite them in for prasadam. And he said, no, we just ask you, Bolo Krishna, Bhaja Krishna, Koro Krishna, Sikha. That's all. And then they went to the next. And some of them were not so pious, and they slammed the door in their face. Find a job. Something like that. And those who were not allowed in the Shiva's Angam during this ecstatic kirtans, many of them were not allowed because they didn't have these devotional qualifications. When they saw Haridas Thakur and Nityananda Prabhu, they became so envious that they said, what? We are not allowed to enter your place, and now you want to enter our place? Beat them, beat them, beat them! And then they wanted to beat the 2 personalities, Haridas Thakur and Nityananda Prabhu. So why were they preaching? Again, 2 aspects. One was because they were so compassionate. Nityananda Prabhu, when he met during one day of preaching, they met Jagai and Madai, and he understood how fallen they had become. Then it's mentioned that Nityananda Prabhu felt so much compassion for the 2 brothers. And when he proposed to Haridas Thakur to try to convert them into Vaishnavism, Haridas Thakur, he was thinking internally, if Nityananda Prabhu wants to save them, they are already saved. Because the compassion of Lord Nityananda, who can resist the compassion of Lord Nityananda? So they did, and it was quite a disastrous outcome in the beginning, because they really had to run for their lives. And while running, there was such a wonderful exchange between Haridas and Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Prabhu, he said, we got ourselves into quite some trouble, no, Haridas? I'm not sure if we will survive this. Haridas Thakur, he told Nityananda Prabhu, why are you saying this? You're the one who came with this idea. And then later on he said, due to your restless nature, Nityananda, we got into serious troubles. You know, I was beaten in 22 marketplaces, and by the mercy of the Lord I survived, but now I'm not so sure if I will survive, thanks to you. And they were like running and laughing and joking with each other. Like that. So Srila Prabhupada, he imbibed the same mood that we should preach. Somehow or other we have to preach. But if we don't have compassion, how can we preach? It's clearly mentioned in this purport that only the advanced devotees of the Lord who have compassion, they assist the Lord in his mission to spread Krishna consciousness. So what about us? If we don't have compassion, can we preach?
Yes.
We can? Voel je dat van?
Prabhu said, just follow my instructions. Although we don't have compassion, we follow Prabhu's instructions. And we preaching, and then we develop compassion.
One day, Srila Prabhupada was explaining the Kanishtas, the Madhyams and the Uttams. And he explained the symptoms of a Kanishta Adhikari, a neophyte devotee. And then later on in the lecture he mentioned, Kanishtas cannot preach. So the devotees, they were a little bit puzzled and thinking, we are clearly Kanishtas, and he wants us to preach, and now he says Kanishtas cannot preach. So Srila Prabhupada, I have a question. We are all Kanishtas, so we cannot preach, so you want us to preach? And then Prabhupada became very stern. He said, you do not preach. I am the one who is preaching. You just follow my instructions. And you go out and preach. So again, Sushrushro Savadana Shyavasudeva Ruchi. If we follow the instructions of the spiritual master, if we serve him, Ruchi will come, because we do it to please the spiritual master. And that is the other aspect why Lord Nityananda and Haridas went on Sankirtan. Not just because they felt compassion, but also because it was the direct instruction of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. It's my instruction, you go out. I remember, after a few years of Sankirtan, I remember asking, I don't want to embarrass Dr. Krishna Prabhu, but I asked Dr. Krishna Prabhu, how is it that you're so steady? When I observed Dr. Krishna Prabhu on Sankirtan, he was just all day with his book back, approaching one person, and chanting in between, Hare Krsna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. And I asked him, how is it that you're so steady, year after year after year, you can do this? And Dr. Krishna Prabhu, he said, I just follow the instructions of Srila Prabhupada. He wants us to preach, so it's quite clear, no? We just go out to Sankirtan, that's what Prabhupada wants. I just do my duty. And I was thinking, wow, just doing your duty for Prabhupada, you can do it year after year after year. I was so impressed. But that's a fact, we can do this kind of activities year after year after year if we have a strong desire to please Srila Prabhupada. And then sometimes we can become empowered. It said Krishna Shakti Vina Naheta Pravatam. We cannot distribute Krishna consciousness if we have no empowerment from the spiritual master. So we are looking the whole day for empowerment. Isn't it, Stoka? We're on the street. Please send me some nice devotees. That's nice people who can become devotees. Oh, please. And then sometimes miracles happen. I remember in Dordrecht with Nanda Kumar, we were in a marathon together on Sankirtan. And we were running from morning till evening, we were running around distributing books. And then at one point a Christian, really a fanatic Christian, he came to me, he approached me and he said, I've been observing you the whole day, morning, afternoon, now evening, you and your friend. He said, this is only possible, what you are doing is only possible when you are directly empowered by the devil. But then he said something which I felt a little bit hurt, because I was quite enthusiastic hearing this. Yes, we are empowered, not by the devil, but he clearly sees we're empowered. But then he said, I can see your friend, he is even more than you. he cannot anymore be saved. But you can still be saved, he said. And I was thinking, no! I felt offended, you know. I was thinking, I can be saved by the material energy. No, I want to be lost in spiritual life. So I was a little envious at Nanda Kumai that he had some empowerment which was high at me. So you feel at that moment, you feel really empowered from morning to evening running around distributing books. And sometimes we even get some compassion doing that service. I don't remember the first encounter with this lady, but the second one was very deeply engraved in my memory. One lady came up to me one day in Eindhoven, and very humbly she approached me and she said, I met you 3 years ago, also here in Eindhoven. And I bought Bhagavad Gita from you. And at that time, 3 years ago, I was very rich. I had a healthy husband, also very rich. We both had our own business. We had different houses, second houses, third house. We felt so happy. And then you approached me on the street and I said, I have no time. But somehow or other I stopped, she said. And I listened to you and I told you that I was so happy. And then you said, but that happiness is flickering. You are depending on your happiness because of houses, health, etc. But if that's taken away, how happy will you be? And because I liked you so much, I bought Bhagavad Gita, but I told you, I don't need this. This I don't need. I will put it on my shelf. It looks nice, but... So she put it on the shelf. But then, a lot of disasters happened, or actually Prabhupada would call it reducing the fever of material life. Prabhupada started to work on her. Her husband got sick and could not anymore do his business. Then he got a lot of debts. Then they had to sell the third house. Then they had to sell the second house. Then he became so sick that this lady had to take care of her husband, so she couldn't anymore do her business. Then they had to go to a smaller house. Then she got a disease herself. Her husband died. And then she saw me on the street and she approached me and she said, you told me that it would happen. I said, well, I didn't tell you that it would happen. I just said, what if it's taken away? Will you still be happy? So now I'm reading Bhagavad Gita, she said, and I understand now what your master is saying in this book. So some fever had to be removed before she could take to the Bhagavad Gita. And I was so touched, I felt so sorry, I was almost feeling guilty of what happened. But it was, yeah, my heart softened and I really felt for her. I didn't feel like, yes, very good. I was thinking, oh my God, what a suffering she went through, what a disaster. But how nice that she is coming to Krishna consciousness. So wonderful things can happen when we go on Sankirtan, on book distribution. But it's not only the book distribution that is falling under the category of prachar. Some of us maybe are not inclined to go on the street and distribute books because it's quite an endeavor and quite a surrender to do. But as mentioned by Gopinath in his nice Vaishnava etiquette mail which I read, is so many people who we normally see on the street, they come to Radhadesh. Automatically, it's quite unique outside India to have people coming to a temple without inviting them. They just come as visitors. So there we can also apply this prachar, showing our perfect achar, being very, very kind. I think what the people first want is kindness, no? If they meet somebody and he is very kind or she is very kind, no? Really being interested in them, they feel it. So that's also preaching. Guiding them around here is preaching. Or going towards them when they for the first time come. You know what they feel when they for the first time enter this little hallway there at the entrance? You know what they feel? Insecurity. They know, here's a spiritual community. Am I allowed to enter? Am I not allowed to enter? What's going on there? Are they strange? I've heard that it's Hare Krishna. Is it a sect? Are they weirdos? Are they fanatics? And that's, you see them, you know, when they approach, you see one step, a little hesitation, and looking around if the family members still follow, they don't want to be the first one. Together we go. Really, when you observe them, you sometimes really see that, especially when it's quiet, they don't dare to enter this big, huge door of the castle, you know. So then when you see that, and you go to them, and you say, oh, are you here for the first time? Oh, please feel free, there's a restaurant, there's this, cafeteria, you can have a coffee, you can have a tea, have some drinks, you can have a guided tour, you can go inside to the left, there's a nice person there receiving you, you can buy a ticket to do a guided tour. Just give them some attention. Ah, you brought nice weather with you, thank you. And they start laughing, oh, okay, nice people.
They are normal.
That's a very important, yeah, well, but we also should feel that they are normal.
Yeah.
And sometimes when we lived very long in the temple, we think these are karmis. You know, they're coming to pollute us. They're in Maya, you know, keep out Maya. No. Suridam Savadehinam. We become the Surit. We become the dearmost friends. They should have the feeling when they leave Radhadesh that they are leaving some friends. So I like it very much, your meal, and we should be all conscious that even if we have not the same spirit as we had 20 or 30 years ago, everyone go out on the street. We even had this prayer, you remember, Stoka? Oh, Srila Prabhupada, if you so desire, please send us some new Sankirtan devotees so that we can expand the Sankirtan movement of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. We would say this prayer every morning. We are not doing that anymore, huh? But at least we get so many people coming here. So let's try to give them a very nice impression. That's also preaching. So I'm going over time. So the thing I wanted to discuss a little bit today was the achar and the prachar of Hare Krsna, and especially the compassion which our acharyas have for us, and that if we assist them in their mission of spreading Krishna consciousness somehow or other, we become so purified that one day we will also have this feeling of compassion like Hare Krsna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krsna ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Any questions or comments?
Completely to the beginning, the song. I saw that in the song. I go back to the beginning of the lecture, to the song, and I saw in the song that two names were missing, and I was wondering why. Srivas and Gadadhar. He is not mentioning them, so maybe you can explain it, maybe.
Well, there are a lot of other devotees also missing.
This is the Panchatattva. Yes.
I don't know he is in the line of Lokanath Goswami, so I'm not sure the associates of Lokanath Goswami, those who were he associated with the most, and what was the mood. I mean, the mood of Nityananda Prabhu is very much the assisting the Lord in preaching. The mood of Gadadhar is much more assisting the Lord in his internal mood of relishing. It's said that Gadadhar Pandit especially appeared to assist Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in experiencing the internal feelings of separation of Radharani. So why Narottam is mentioning certain devotees in this particular song, and maybe he's mentioning some of those in other songs, I don't know, but the purpose of the song is also not to have the complete list of all the Vaishnavas in history, to leave nobody out. So why is specifically focusing on all these devotees and not on Gadadhar Pandit, for example? I don't know for sure. Maybe anyone else has some idea.
The devotees may be like Advaita Acharya and Nityananda are avatars, incarnations of Krishna. The other two are not.
Gadadhar is an incarnation of Radharani.
Yes.
But maybe it was really invoking the mercy in the Sankirtan movement, it was, I mean, therefore it's logical that Advaitacharya, he was the cause of the descent of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he's not mentioning the whole Panchatattva, that's true, but I can only speculate when I say more about it.
Okay, I was wondering, so thank you.
Maybe you can ask Kadambakara. Maybe he knows. You were first, Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. This point you made really stayed with me, this connection between Nishtha and Ruchi, the connection between taste and steadiness. And sometimes like you also mentioned how from taste comes steadiness, and also from steadiness comes taste in many ways. And then I was thinking that sometimes, like now I'm going through a phase where after experiencing some taste in chanting, and then suddenly it vanishes. And then we also often hear how the taste for chanting is not dependent on material circumstances. That's what we should aim for, at least.
Yeah.
Then that's really my struggle, that why does this taste disappear after it has come? And I mean, there are a lot of reasons like Vaishnava, Aparad, etc. But how do you really get this steadiness and taste?
The point is, we are not the enjoyers of the holy name. We are not chanting the holy name to squeeze out taste and nectar. That's not the attitude of a servant. We are the servant of the name. Therefore we say Harinam Prabhu. We are his servants. So Aslishya Vapadaratam Vipashtunam Adashanam Mamahatam Karotuvam. Sometimes you are present before me and you crush me by your embrace, and then suddenly you disappear and you make me broken-hearted. So if you feel no taste for a certain time and you continue, oh holy name, I'm your servant. I'm your servant. I'm just chanting because you asked me to chant. Prabhupada asked me to chant. I'm not chanting to enjoy you. You are also not decorating the deities to enjoy the deities. No, you serve the deities. You serve the holy name. Same with Vaishnavas. You're not going to try to get pleasure out of the Vaishnavas. You serve the Vaishnavas. And if you have that mentality, then even struggling can become a kind of service to the Lord. Oh Lord, today I'm chanting my 16 rounds and somehow it's not working, it's not happening, but it doesn't matter. I'm just chanting your names. That's pleasing you. You are pleased when I chant your names. So let me chant with some more kindness and with some more attention. And maybe I should beg a little bit more, like we were singing the song, beg to Lord Chaitanya. Oh, you can beg Lord Nityananda. Say, what do you have that I don't have? Give me some. And if you have that mood, even if you're struggling, that struggle becomes also nectar because it's in connection with Krishna. Devotional service, don't expect an easygoing life when you engage in devotional service. Prabhupada said it so many times. Devotional service is not the path of an easygoing life. Devotional service is a life of intense purification. And if you get purified, things can happen like the lady I met on the street. It's very, very painful. But we get purified. And then we should be thankful. I feel much purer than before. So don't bother too much about the ruchi. And if you feel a little taste, don't try to make it more than it is. You know, sometimes you feel something and you think, yes, it's coming! Ecstasy! Oh, it's gone again. It's coming. You know, we try to become... Sometimes I have that. If I maybe say it so visually. It's coming up. Do I see some taste? Squeeze it. So no, we are servant of the holy name. And if you remember that, then it's nice to know that after Nishtha comes Ruchi, and after Ruchi comes Ashakti. And after Ashakti comes Bhav. The real thing is like ecstatic symptoms, tears. But it doesn't mean that when you feel a tear coming, that it's Bhav. Sometimes we are so sad about something that happened a few years ago that suddenly you get this emotion mixed with some taste for chanting, and there's a whole mix-up with emotions and we think it's Bhav, but it's not. First be steady, and then maybe some ruchi can come. Yes?
Thank you for your lecture, Prabhuji. It's very nice to hear from you again, because I remember you, the first time I went seriously to ISKCON temple was Namata, Rotterdam.
When was that?
Chandra Lakshmi Mata.
Oh,
But at that time,
30
I heard
years.
you, yes, a long time back, very nice.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Prabhuji, you talked about compassion, and compassion results in prachar, and prachar means Krishna consciousness, preaching Krishna consciousness. But how can we relate this, like, you see so many people having compassion, like charity, like now with coffee, we are asked to donate for, like in India. How could you relate that with prachar Krishna consciousness? How should we as devotees react to that kind of compassion?
Well, when Arjuna was feeling compassion in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, he felt so compassionate that his hands were shaking, his bow was falling out of his hands, etc. And he was really making a whole show of compassion for all the souls that he was going to kill. And then the Lord, when he started to speak, he said, you're mourning for things that are not worthy of grief. Petty weakness. What your symptoms are a proof of your petty weakness of heart. Rise. And Prabhupada says in that purport that compassion for the body is ignorance and compassion for the soul is self-realization. So, doesn't mean that when we are not on that high level of Krishna consciousness, that we artificially preach like that to the people in the world, because it is very sad, the present condition of the world. I see every day in my team, I have 12 team members, and weekly I have conversations with them, or one-to-ones, and they express that mentally they are suffering so much, they feel locked up, they're bereft of their freedom, they cannot, how every day you read in the newspaper when the bars and the terraces of the bar will reopen, and then they postpone it with a week. Oh man, I cannot sit on the terrace of the bar. They feel so sad that they cannot invite their friends and have a drink on the terrace of a bar. It's in the newspapers. People are protesting. So we can laugh about it because it's in one sense, from the spiritual point of view, it's funny. But from the material point of view, these people are locked up in their apartments, have to stay inside, have to work from home behind their laptop the whole day. And then when they want to recreate, well, they can have a walk in the forest nearby. But that's in the mode of goodness. If you're in the mode of passion and ignorance, you want some other recreation. And that's all closed. So it's very sad if you're in the mode of ignorance and passion and you are forcefully refrain from the objects of the senses, you create frustration in the heart of the people. So I feel sorry for them. But at the same time, we know it's purification, it's world karma, it's for the good of all on the long run. But in the short run, it's a sad story. And we can feel compassionate for them. So then we have to be like Mother Radharani. Everyone who comes here tries to get a book, some prasadam, some nice talks. That's the compassion of a Vaishnava. Okay, last question. Gita Govinda, you can end.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your very inspiring class, Ekachakra. When I was on the altar, I was listening, and then what pumped up into me is the point you made about, why is Haridas Thakur called the Namacharya, and you give some very wonderful points. And then what came up to me when you were speaking about this prostitute is that when she came the first day, he even promised her. He said, I promise you, I will fulfill your desire. So he knew, it illustrates the power of the holy name. He somehow or other knew that Krishna would take away this taste for union. I was like, wow, he promised, and you see, that's the power of the holy name. The faith, 100% faith, and the other thing, I want not comment.
So Haridas Thakur actually fulfilled her real desire.
Yeah, she became yes.
Soul desire.
Yes.
Okay.
And the other point I want to make is that in regarding to why he's called Namacharya, is that even Lord Caitanya Prabhu, or somewhere in the Caitanya Caritamrta, I think it's Canto 4 of, I don't know exactly, but it's in this chapter. There are 2 chapters about Haridas Thakura, cantos, canto 3 and this one. But in one of the cantos, Caitanya Mahaprabhu is telling him, oh, please, Haridas Thakur, I have to deliver all these fallen souls, but I don't know how. I can't see how to do this. And then it is Haridas Thakur who started to instruct him how and how it feels like. And that's also why in Siksastika we have this Caitanya Mahaprabhu saying, oh Lord, I have no attraction for the holy name. But the attraction he got by the preachings of Haridas Thakur to him. That's what I wanted to
So Haridas Thakur was also, in one sense, the guru of Lord Chaitanya
Yes.
Mahaprabhu. Because
Yes.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him, how can we deliver the whole universe?
Yes.
And Haridas Thakur said, by loudly chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Thank you all very much. Have a nice day.
Are you really rating? No. That's scary. No one gets 10 out of 10.